Hi guys, I have just finished Stalker Shadow of Chernobyl, my first ever playthrough of this game, a blind playthrough, master difficulty with a few mods, nothing major, and I thought I would give you my first impressions of the game. This will contain some slight spoilers. No, this will contain major spoilers. So if you're watching the Let's Play or you're playing the game yourself, don't watch this if you don't want spoilers, because I'm going to discuss the end briefly. So, the big question, did I like the game? Loved it, thought it was brilliant, thought the game in general all around was a great experience. I don't know what I was expecting when I started it. Of course, people convinced me to play this because of my Metro playthroughs, and I think I was expecting something, well, perhaps like Metro mixed with Fallout or Oblivion, that type of game. And you know what, in many ways it kind of is. It's open world like Fallout or Oblivion, but it has more of that, an even darker feeling than Fallout actually, because it lacks the comedy of Fallout. It lacks the kind of lovable charm of the Fallout world. It really is a sort of fairly bleak, apocalyptic place, even though it's not actually the entire world, it's just the zone. There is a definite bleak, apocalyptic feel, a dark, and the word depressing is wrong, but you get the idea. Because the game did not depress me, but it made me feel more callous. It made me value other people's lives less, and as I became more a creature of survival than anything else, and so it did a really good job doing that. But at the same time, it is kind of open world. There are a lot of side quests. It isn't as open world as Oblivion, for example, or Fallout, but it isn't completely linear. It's more like, oddly enough, it's more like a tree. You start at the bottom and you work your way up towards the top, but you can branch out if you want, and you can go backwards and forwards and even go down the tree, but that's how it feels. You don't sort of go around. It's not one amorphous map. If you actually look at the map, it is actually very, very linear from north to south. There's no side movement. Can't move side movement when you go on the maximum zoom out. It's just from north to south. So there is a feeling of linearity to some degree, but also a feeling of open world. And I think it was a good mix. It was a good balance. Now, it's not a role-playing game. It is more like the Metro games in that you do feel like you get better as you get better equipment, but there's no skills or anything like that. So it is. There are quests, but not skills. There's an inventory that is far more typical of an RPG, definitely. But again, it is, in many respects, devoid of things that you would recognize as RPG. It's very, very story-driven, and the story is really, really engaging. I found myself very curious as to what the hell was going on. And the game does not go out of its way to give you the story, actually. Now, that could partly be because a lot of the other characters in the games, the ones that you don't talk to but that they're all talking to each other, they might have stories that if you spoke Russian would feed you more information. But in general, the game does not like to feed you information en masse. You have to pick it up, you have to read all the notes, read all the lore, and even then there are times you will find yourself a little confused as to what the hell is going on. That could be me. I perhaps didn't get all the notes I was supposed to, or I wasn't paying attention. There was one entire conversation where the barkeep was telling me I had to go into the center of the zone, and I was not listening to him because I was busy running through 5 soldiers with 2 invisible mutants chasing me, and it was like, seriously, talk to me later, dude. So there are occasional moments like that when you sit and go, okay, right, what the hell did he say? And you do wonder whether you missed something. So there was that slight feeling of confusion. The world itself, I have to say, is remarkably well done. I mean, it's an old game, actually, and yet I found myself very, very engrossed in the world. Occasionally, even finding it a beautiful place to be. I would sometimes travel around and think, wow, that's an incredible sunset, or the horizon looks amazing, which is pretty good for an old game. But more than anything, the visuals do a very good job at making you feel the bleakness of the world without it being horribly empty. I mean, in many ways, I found that it sort of had more features, more trees than many of the games I play. And it does so without any performance issue. There's a lot of grass compared to some of the other games I play. And so somehow the game feels very complete and yet desolate. This entire area just seems very, very well done. It seems to do exactly what it needs to do, which is give me the feeling of a ruined, desolate community, but still somehow feel real. So I really liked the visuals. I loved the audio. It's constantly creepy. It really is. The music's very cool, slightly depressing. The ambient sound is very distracting at first, and even towards the end, once you're used to it, you still catch yourself jumping at these sounds. They still make you nervous, and that is a great thing. Actually, that is a great thing. The progression of power through the game is a little strange. You start off completely feeble and pathetic. The weapons you have are utterly terrible, and they really are utterly terrible. And the weapons you end up with are pretty damn amazing. But it never gets easy. Even once you've got amazing weapons and amazing armor, on this difficulty you've still got to be vaguely careful. Well, not vaguely, you have to be careful. You will die a lot faster than you would in many other games, and your opponents, well, they're not as easy to kill as in other games. Stealth is... It works. You need to be stealthy in this game, but once it goes wrong, you've got to start repositioning. I mean, the thing I learned very early on was you spend far more time in this game, you hiding behind things, leaning out, shooting, realizing you're just not hitting them, and then sprinting off, repositioning. And you can lose enemies that way. The AI on stealth seemed quite good, actually. I could lose my enemies. I would move, and then they would come around a corner, and they'd be looking at where they last saw me, and that allowed me to set up ambushes. And you sort of needed to use that kind of technique until you got decent weapons with decent scope, so you could do distant things. So, for example, if I was going to fight these two here, even with my AK, I could take out the closest guy, but the guy beyond, it would really worry me. I'd be crouching behind here, leaning and picking him off. Any further than that, forget it. The guy guarding the road out couldn't have shot him. Whereas, of course, with my new weapons, I can. So your game style does change as you progress, and I liked that. I did like that feeling, because you get to experience all aspects of the combat system. So, in general, pretty good. My only minor complaint would be sometimes, especially in the early game, the guys seem to take way more bullets than they should. Really, really did. You'd shoot them 5-6 times, and yes, they were wearing a vest, but they just wouldn't go down. Or you'd even shoot them in the head sometimes, and they'd survive. So sometimes I felt like they were a little spongy. The early weapons were a little unrealistic, but it's a minor complaint. The ending. Now, the ending was a little strange for me. I mean, it crept up on me both when I had to make a choice, and the actual ending both crept up on me a little unexpected. When I found the monolith and I had to make a choice, I wasn't expecting that. And when he introduced the whole sea consciousness idea, I was very unsure about it. It did sound very sinister, and my instinct was to say no. I was expecting more interaction on that. I wasn't expecting it to be a simple, I do wonder what would have happened had I accepted. Perhaps that's what I was supposed to do. Perhaps that was the way I was supposed to do it. But my first instinct was mistrust and... well, it sounded very nefarious. It did sound like one of those the road to hell is paved with good intentions scenarios where the people really thought they were doing the right thing, but honestly were sort of dehumanizing, well, the entire population of the planet seemed to be their aim. And so my instinct was to say no, but I was expecting more of an argument perhaps, or a discussion, or an explanation of what this would mean. He would turn around and say, well, you've said no, and therefore blah, 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 blah. And I got none of that. I just got teleported away and was like, okay, now what? So then I thought what I had to do was leave, get the hell out there, because that seems to be the obvious thing. But it didn't seem to want to let me do that. It seemed to be herding me towards one place. So obviously I had to go, and it turns out that it was herding me towards the actual sea consciousness place, and then I automatically kill everyone. And now, here's the thing, I'm not totally sure whether that's what I would have done had it given me a choice. Would you like to kill them or leave them or whatever? I think I would have dismantled the machine. I mean, it did sound nefarious to me. I think I would have. But of course, then at the end, S.T.A.L.K.E.R does actually say he's not sure if he's done the right thing. So I'm still not sure whether that was the right thing. But I didn't get any choice. I went through a portal and suddenly I have a cutscene and I'm destroying the sea consciousness. And I'm still not completely sure why. I sort of think I know why. I think it was a bad thing, but I'm not sure. Maybe I just made an absolutely terrible mistake and did something horribly dark and have doomed the planet to destruction. So now this confusion could be because I've missed some of the notes. So I'm willing to accept that it might have been my fault. I might not have read all the lore. I did try to read it, but it's not always that easy because of the circumstances. So I'm probably going to go off and read up a little bit about the ending and try and get an idea of what just happened. Although I'm going to wait a day or so. And see what the comments are here, because of course I do intend to play the next few games, and perhaps those games explain it for me. Perhaps I'm supposed to be a little, confused. So I will actually see and find out what the comments say, because the comments might say, no, don't find out. It's a mystery. Go to the next game, or perhaps the comments are going to be, why did you decline his offer, you idiot? That's not what you were supposed to do. But that's what I've done, that's what I did, and that's what I'm living with. I don't know if the next games work off the choices I made in this one. I suspect not, because I believe Clear Skies is set before this one. So we will have to see. I will be doing... That's the question people are going to ask. Am I going to play the other games? Yes, I'm going to play Clear Skies, and yes, I'm going to play Call of Pripyat. I am going to do it, and I am going to mod them. I haven't decided which mods, and I'm sure there's going to be a huge argument as to whether I should play the Misery mod, because there does seem to be those who say, you must play it, and then others say, for God's sake, don't play that on your first playthrough. So, probably a bad idea to argue about that below here. I will start a video before I do each game asking for modding advice. Probably best to wait for that. But yeah, so I will be playing those games. I can't say when. It probably won't be immediately. I need a break from Stalker. But I will get round to playing them. And I will play them in order. I'll play Clear Skies. And I mean in order that they were released. So I know some people don't like Clear Skies, but I'm probably going to... Well, somebody's bought it for me. Although the person who bought it for me said, I bought it for you. You've got to promise not to play it. Which is very odd. So there you go. Anyway, in general... It would seem night is falling, darkness is coming. I should probably, even though the game is over, somehow it doesn't feel over. You can actually continue playing, you see. But I think I'd like to just get a bit closer to the fire this time. But that is it. Stalker, Shadow of Chernobyl. Great game. Really, really great game. Glad I played it, and I hope those of you who followed me on the playthrough enjoyed watching it. So, until the next game, I will see you next time.
Мастер!